Little PSA to start off this episode of Who's That Driver. I'm your host, Zach Rogers. We're here for episode 6. Over the years, I've butted heads with many people. So have many of our guests that have been on this show. I'd just like to throw it out there that over some newfound reflections I've made the past week, I'm opening the door to wipe the slate clean with anybody and everybody who I have had issues with in the past. I'm not expecting us to become buddy friends or anything crazy like that, but if you want to just wipe the slate clean, I've decided to wipe my slate clean. My block list is empty now, and if I run into anybody across social media and or through racing, the slate is clean. It's equal. I'm good. Get that negative energy out. It's not worth holding grudge. A lot of the stuff that I had people on my block list for was all silly anyway. So that doesn't change what was said. But if the other parties want to wipe the slate clean with me, I'm willing to bury the hatchet. Anyways, getting into today's episode. The guest on today is actually someone who I used to not get along with. Joining us today for episode 6 of Who's That Driver is the head admin at Fast Racing League and my team owner, Randal Coleman. How you doing tonight, Randal?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, so Randal, when we first met, it was probably, I think, back 2018, and I don't think we had anything, we didn't really get into it too much, but there was a period, I think around 2019 or so, where we did not get along.
Yeah, I think it was something around that time frame. If I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was around the time like you start to race over a league called TDR.
Yeah, so it was TDR. I was racing at TDR, and I think I was running my mouth or something, or I might have been coming off a bit egotistical whenever we ran at the roadies, because that was back when you weren't as good at the roadies back then as you are now.
Yeah, I remember correctly. It was at Watkins Glen, and I don't think it was only me that you had mad that night. There was quite a few people that was not happy with you. Um, but I mean, you kind of go through a phase. Everybody does at some point through your life. You go through that phase, and you just sometimes people don't understand the other person, and that vibe could cause an issue that probably could be resolved if somebody would actually vocalize and speak out and talk to one another. But at those time back in those days on the those nights and stuff, there was a lot of people, emotions are high, and you know after the fact, not too many people were really ready to kind of dissipate the whole issue, and I guess that kind of caused a little bit of a rift. But uh, other than those people, yourself and me, we've come a long ways from that since then, and talk on a regular basis now, and kind of got over those issues, and like you said, here we are racing together under the same banner.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes the thing that helps is time away from each other. Like I feel like when you just keep seeing the same person at the same league every week, that's when every little thing is just like pushing the buttons. Uh, so and that goes like for a few people right now in my head, where it's like every week it's something, but I'm trying to let that go because it's always something silly. So just trying to let it go and just like be more positive. But it's hard because you get so used to dogging on people that the first instance where you get an excuse to dog on somebody for something, you just kind of go for it.
Absolutely. And I mean, you still have that today with some people. Um, Even if you're trying to be, and it also goes hand in hand, like if you're trying to be constructive with them, just because of your past experience with with that person or whatnot, it comes off as like being an aggressor instead of like someone who's trying to make amends and like reach out a hand and be like, "Hey, I'm just trying to give you some insight on what you're doing or how I can help you." And uh, we see it still. We see it in the leagues that we're racing in currently and whatnot. And like you said, time away or just time altogether, um, eventually winds up, getting back on good terms. Maybe not like you said, like buddy buddy, but at least ones where you could have like a social conversation with one another and not have that barrier of the aggressive, behavior and whatnot.
Yeah, I remember way back when I first got into the community in late 2015. And just on TeamSpeak really was where everyone would interact. We didn't have Discord yet for Hangouts. We had Skype, but no one really used Skype for Hangouts. I mean, that was like a once a month here, there, whatever. But you would hang out on TeamSpeak, and if you had problems with somebody in the same TeamSpeak, you just muted them. And looking back, I kind of find it hilarious that I ever utilized such a function because it's really a pain in the ass if you mute somebody and you're in the same channel with other people and there's a conversation going on. If the muted person starts talking because you have them muted and you start talking, then you got two people talking, but only as far as you know, you're the only one talking, and the muted person's like, "What the hell, man? Like, I'm talking here," and it's like, "Oh, well, I got you muted, so I don't know." And then the whole channel suffers. So I always thought, I think now, looking back, like, man, the whole muting somebody thing was kind of silly. Like, if you're gonna be in the same channel as somebody, if there's somebody in there who's muted, you're better off just not even going in the channel.
Yeah, I agree. And it's actually funny you mention it because I'm pretty sure that our first time that we actually talked to each other was through a mutual acquaintance, and it was on Skype, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was probably eons ago, but yeah,
It
I,
was
I
a
think
while.
you're right. Yeah. Yeah, because I didn't get Discord until 2017, so it had to have been sometime before that. But yeah, that's funny. So anyway, we'll get more into NR 2003 stuff here in a moment. But what I want to know is what got you into motorsports, who your first favorite driver was, who it is now, which I think I know the answers to these questions, but for the fans out there, and what your favorite form of motorsports is.
Oh boy. Let's see. I probably got into being a fan of motorsports, mostly NASCAR racing. Probably in the early, actually, yeah, probably in the early '90s. I was about 5 or 6. Spend the weekends at grandparents' houses and stuff, and they'd always have like the NASCAR races on, and you just kind of get drawn to it. Um, at that age, you're new to everything, so anything that you see, it's attractive, and that's honestly what got me into being, and I'm just, like you said, a big Jeff Gordon fan because Rainbow Warrior, like the one car that stood out on the track out of everybody's was this colorful paint scheme going around the track, and you know, seeing that car, just falling in love with the paint scheme itself, uh, seeing this young driver come into this sport, um, and go out there and actually in his early years like be one of the top drivers. It was just very interesting to sit there and go on there every week and just watch. Um, and obviously he had those epic battles with Dale Earnhardt and you know Terry Labonte was his teammate, but um, they were winning championships back and forth between them. Those three mainly um, during those years, and it just kind of stuck with me. I think you asked what the biggest or the racing that I watch the most. Obviously, it's NASCAR. I've never really gotten into the whole F1 stuff or the Indy cars. Not even, I kind of watched some late models. I've watched some dirt racing lately with Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell and those guys. Kyle Busch is one of them also that goes out there and races on the dirt tracks and stuff now. That's kind of drawn me to that because, obviously being mostly into the whole NASCAR thing, you see those drivers going out and exploring those other series and stuff, and it kind of gets you involved in watching those as well. Um, I've actually recently, believe it or not, because of Tony Stewart, gotten into the whole drag racing thing. Just seeing him move from NASCAR, go into the funny car stuff, drag racing, and racing and going at 300 miles per hour is insane. Um, but back to the other part. Obviously, my newest favorite driver is Chase Elliott, the guy who replaced Jeff Gordon. So, seeing him come up through the ranks uh, in the Truck Series, worked his way up to the Xfinity Series, won a championship, um, then came up into the Cup Series, ran the 24 before changing over to the 9. Um, it was just a cool thing to see him like grow up around that group of guys. Because obviously he was under the Hendrick banner all along. Um, so with him coming up and basically taking over for Jeff Gordon, it was just kind of logical for me to go with him. Um, but for the most part, I've actually become more of a big fan of just the Hendrick organization altogether, um, which not too many people probably know. I know you probably have an idea of it, but that's how a lot of my NR racing leagues and stuff like that, I kind of base it off of Hendrick Motorsports kind of theme to an extent. Um, Not all the numbers are always the same as what they run or whatnot, but it's kind of resembles how that organization is, how they've been dominant over the years, and that kind of stuff. So you know, um, I've really gotten into watching a lot more truck racing than I have with the Cups cars lately. I don't know why I've always been fond of the trucks, and but yeah, for the most part, I've basically stuck with NASCAR uh, all the way through. Like I said, it was like when I was 5 years old, 5 or 6, and still enjoy it. Still like sitting here and watching it on the weekends. Um, Probably don't get to watch it as much as I used to, but I still stay pretty well involved in it.
Did you get to watch any of the Rockingham stuff from this weekend? The truck race I know had a really good finish, fuel mileage wise, fuel strategy, and then Xfinity Saturday. I got to watch the whole thing of that, and while I'm bummed that my boy Casey Kane got junked early, it was a very very good race.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch all of it. I watched parts of it. Like you said, I was really, really rooting for Casey Kane, to see him come back. And actually, I think he was in a joint effort with RCR and Hendrick because they had Hendrick cars on his paint scheme. Um, it was kind of cool to see him come back because, if I'm not mistaken, the last time they raced at Rockingham, he won that race in the Truck Series, and
Yep,
I think
2012.
that was the last. Yeah, that was the last one they ran,
Trucks
or
ran
did they run?
in 2013, which Kyle Larson won. I want to say.
Okay, I remember Casey Kane won in the number 4 truck when he was racing. I think he ran, yeah, in the Truck Series. I think it was the number 4. And he won there. So to see him come back and actually race, it was kind of cool. Um, like you said, unfortunately he got junked early, and didn't really get to go up there and compete for it like I thought he probably would. But it was cool that they were able to bring him out to do something like that, um, and have that partnership with RCR and Hendrick to sponsor that car. I don't know how you feel about it. I was kind of disappointed they didn't have a lot more Cup drivers come out with them not racing on Sunday or having Easter off. It would have been like a prime opportunity to have like a couple other Cup drivers come in and race, especially being at that track first time that they've been back for a long time. Um, the number of people that they had there at the track, it would have been definitely, I think, big for Rockingham Speedway.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the rules are on dipping down. I know they can't run playoff races. I'm pretty sure they're allowed to travel, even if they're off or if they're at a different track. I just think maybe, if it's not rule related, I think a lot of guys were just looking forward to the off week because they literally do not get another one. Like they were off for Easter and that's it. Like some of them will get the All-Star kind of off because they'll miss the All-Star race, but they'll all still be running the Open. There's no off weeks until they get to the season's over. So I wonder if like a lot of them were just like looking to have an off week and do something. Kyle Larson was at WrestleMania over the weekend in Vegas. So, I think a lot of guys just wanted to take the week off. I mean, even Freddie Kraft, Bubba's spotter, he was on vacation. There wasn't even an episode of Door Bumper Clear this week. Even though they had racing at The Rock, they didn't do a podcast episode for it this week because they were all on vacation because they're all him and Tommy Baldwin, they're cut people, so they just didn't even do it. Which so I hope they talk about Rockingham next week, but they'll also have to talk about Talladega. But that would be my best idea, is that they just want to take the one off week they get off and go do something.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I mean, it's very similar to us. We don't have many off weeks to enjoy, but when we do, we try to
Zero
go
on
out and
Sunday.
do something else. Yeah, yeah. Thanks to me.
Yeah, no off weeks for the Fast Renegade Pro Cup Series. If anybody's out there races on Sunday at Fast, we are nonstop throughout the whole year. Even our All-Star race weekend is just a points race, so which I don't mind. I need all them playoff points anyway. The ones I earn, that is. So to get further into NR 2003, when did you get into it? And how many years would you say you've been active out of those years?
Oh boy. Well, I think I started with NR 2003 back in 2005. And I think I was just looking for, like, obviously I was big into NASCAR. I was into like PlayStation games and that kind of stuff. But I had a computer, and I was like, there has to be some type of racing game out there that people play with on the PCs. So I was doing some diving on Google and whatnot. And I came across NR 2003, and I was like, oh, what is this? So the first thing that actually came up, which was actually kind of a surprise thing about this, is it was a painting group that actually all they did was create custom cars for people to import into the NR 2003. And I was like, oh, this looks pretty neat. So I reached out to the guy who owned the site. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but it was a site called Big Al Graphics.
Oh.
And there was the dude who ran it. His name was Big Al, and I still remember to this day. His profile picture was Al Bundy. So it was pretty cool. And back then, believe it or not, like his website, like you could sign up on it, you could become a member of it, you could download stuff off of it and whatnot. But there wasn't any really way of communication other than sending him an email. So I started off sending this guy emails like, "Hey, what is this? Like, what are you doing? Like, how do you do this and whatnot?" So I got into actually painting cars before I actually raced the game.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that I actually was helping paint cars before I actually ever raced in NR 2003. Because I didn't know really like at the time how to get it, whatnot. This guy was like telling me, I was like all ecstatic about it and whatnot. And at that time, you basically had to go out and try to find the CD. You had to find the CD or buy the CD. And I was lucky enough. There was a guy who was still part of that group that had an extra copy. And he was willing to just give it to me. He didn't ask me for any money or anything of the sort. He just said, "Hey, give me your address. I'll send it to you." Because we were painting all those cars, post them up for download for people to run and stuff, and and he's like, hey, you deserve to get your hands on this game and enjoy it yourself. So it was pretty cool. He sent me a copy of it, put it in. Uh, Back then, when most computers now don't even have a CD-ROM, but as soon as I got it, installed it, got on there, and started racing with a controller. Didn't even try a keyboard. Never once tried a keyboard. Went straight to an Xbox 360 controller, I think it was. Or actually, it wasn't even. It was just a GameStop controller. Um, and when this group, it merged with another painting site that was called United Racing Designs, and then we became into a bigger group where not only were they then doing NR 2003 stuff, they started doing NASCAR '09 stuff. Like I was with them all the way through, like from 2005 to 2009. Um, that was the only place I knew about, and we actually wound up putting our own league together. We formed a league, got to pick custom cars, like we got to paint our own cars if we want to, or just run whatever. So I was running the 24, um, and my first race, we used. I know you're probably familiar with this. We used a Hamachi server
Oh boy.
to race NR. The guy hosted it on a Hamachi server. We all jumped on there and we ran Talladega. And I remember I ran the Jeff Gordon Patriotic paint scheme, the firework one that he ran at Daytona. And I remember about halfway through, I was racing. I was still using a controller at that time, and I wound up getting wrecked. And uh, I did a barrel roll like 2 or 3 times, and engine died and everything. And I was all upset. But it was a lot of fun. And at that time, then I was addicted. I was all about it. So I started searching around for places to race and whatnot, try to get my hands into um, getting out there more into the community. And that's when I found the Revolution Racing League, RRL. That was my actual first true league. And I joined that league. It wasn't too long after they actually just started. Um, I joined in October 2009, and they launched that site or that league uh, about a month before that in September. Now, I don't know what they were before that, um, but I know that they branched off of somewhere and started that league. Um, but I met a lot of cool people through there, and there was a guy named Tim Titch. I think somebody that you had on here, I think it was Moyers you had on here a couple like 2 weeks ago or whatnot. He brought him up. Um, he sent me my first ever racing wheel. When I first started over there, I was still on the controller, using the controller and stuff. Got pretty decent with it. Um, but then they were like, "Hey, uh, let me send you this racing wheel." And I think he charged me like $40 or something like that. It wasn't like a big expensive kind of deal. Um, so he sent me that wheel, and there's a lot of big names that's not really mentioned much anymore out here in the community because it's grown so big. But there was 3 people that was a big influence for me over at the time: Sean Romero, Danny Hardee, Maverick Morrow, and obviously also Tim. Um, those guys got me up to speed on how to use a wheel, what kind of settings to run on them. I think my first actual race on the wheel, I had full assist because I was spinning out like a fool. Um, and they were an open setup league, so it was a big different from when I was racing with that other group. It was all fixed setup. It was just a fast setup on every track, and so getting used to that and getting that kind of development from them guys was a big thing. Um, and yeah, from 2009 on to where we're at today, I have been a big part of this community. I've been a big part of uh, running leagues and just meeting people all around the world because we've had a lot of people from different places come on here and race with us. Um, so it's been a really cool experience from the beginning to where we're at now.
Right on, right on. So, what did your first league win look like? Did it come at RRL or did it come somewhere else?
So yeah, my first league win actually came from Revolution Racing League, um, and believe it or not, it was actually a fun. It was a fun run, so it wasn't even for
Those
points or
don't
anything
count.
like that. Hey, a win is a win. That's what I was told.
Fair.
I was always told when I won that race, Danny Hardee's like, "Hey, a win is a win." Uh, Destruction Arena.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Destruction Arena.
yeah. I think we had like 20 people on there racing, going through the middle there where everybody was crisscrossing, and it was crazy. But yeah, I wound up winning that race, and then after that, um, my first actual points win was in the late model series at Texas.
Texas
I
Motor
held
Speedway.
off. Yes,
Okay.
I held off Maverick Morrow for the win there. And then after that race, everything kind of started to click. Um, I actually won two Texas races in a row. I won that, and I turned around the following night and won the truck race. And I finished, I think, second or third in the Cup race. I almost swept the whole week at Texas, um, which is why Texas is one of my favorite tracks because it was where I won my first official points race. Um, So yeah, once I got that win under my belt, it just kind of started getting easier, not to like win, but to be competitive. But yeah, that's Destruction Arena was the first crazy win that I had. Um, and like I said, it was fun. There's been a lot of wins since then, though.
Yeah, right on. You're making me jealous again over here. Another guy that's won at Texas where I have not. Oh, it makes me want it so much more. We're going to Texas in 2 weeks, so this will go up Monday after we run Talladega. So we'll have Texas this coming
Yep.
weekend from the time all y'all are hearing this. And man, I got that one circled. That track gets uploaded Saturday night. I'll be practicing all day Sunday. Well, probably not, but I'll be practicing it a little bit. I really want to get a Texas win before the year is over. Not racing anywhere too much, so choices are limited. But yeah, I mean, so you got to go up against some of the greats. I remember racing against Maverick a little bit at FTF when I was still trying to figure it out, and very very fast dude, indeed. Didn't really ever get to know him, but definitely a fast dude, and he was a very clean, patient racer for sure. All right,
Yeah.
let's.
Well, to touch on that real quick, yeah. So Maverick, when I started over there, Maverick was one of the first guys who kind of like took me under his wing, and the team that I got signed up for never really took off. So I made a decision to like go out and start my own team, and Maverick was actually my first teammate. Um, Maverick came on as my first teammate, and then Josh joined us. Then I think the very next year, Josh joined the league, and then he came over and was part of the team, and we almost pretty much built a dynasty over there, in all honesty, because after Josh was uh, Adam Sweet and then Austin Hakes. So us five together was a very good dominant force over there.
Right on. Okay, so let's get into a little spicy stuff here. Some spicy stuff.
Oh boy.
Because as I know, you were quite the hothead yourself. You've mellowed out a bit. I probably figure maybe I'll get to the point you're at here in the next 5 years of just kind of mellowing out. But I know you used to have a habit of just letting loose, and if there was a thought on your mind, it came right out of your mouth. So who was the first person you butted heads with?
Oh my goodness.
And if you can't
Hmm,
remember who the first was, who was the biggest? Who was the biggest pain in your ass? And it can't be me.
dang dude. That's a that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, I can't sit here and say that I was never a hothead because I was. I don't think it was to the extent of where I was really like angry. It was just I always wanted to, you know, show my displeasure. Um, I think the biggest person that I ever had a really big run in with was, and he was actually a teammate of mine at the time, was Adam Sweet. Um, Loved the guy to death. We became really good friends. But at the beginning when we were racing with each other and stuff, he was very vocal himself, and at times we would butt heads amongst each other. Um, and it was a lot of times it was over the most stupidest crap it could be. Um, like all the setup sucks. Well, it's not my fault the setup's a bulldozing setup, and we would just constantly bicker at each other about it and whatnot. But a lot of that too also came from being competitive. When you're racing against a group of people who are all competitive, you're going to have temper at time where you're going to butt heads with them. You're not going to get along with them. You're not going to always agree. But we were able to settle our differences. Um, and like I said, we became really good friends. Went to some actual real live NASCAR races together, um, and got to hang out with each other. Uh, and unfortunately, that friendship kind of ended on a not so high note, um, which was unfortunate for like everybody who was knew him and got to race with him. Um, Wish he would have came back and kind of made some amends with people, but I think that was probably the biggest one because of how everything went down after at the end.
Would you
But
like to elaborate a little bit more? It's kind of vague, but if not, I understand.
not really, because I mean it was just basically he just let loose one day and burnt bridges with everybody, you know, um, kind of cut everybody out of his life, and um, NR at the time, like you said, sometimes it's good to just get away, and that's probably one thing that he needed to do at the time was just get away from it. Um, Took a
Okay,
lot of
yeah,
things
that's
to
good
heart.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'll give you something really spicy though.
Oh boy, I'm ready.
I don't know if you had this question in store for me or not, but if you did, I'm going to answer it here.
Okay, well, what would the question have been?
Were you? Let's see. Have I ever intent wrecked anyone?
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna
You're going to get to
circle.
that?
I was gonna circle back to that because I've pretty much asked everybody on here if they've ever intent wrecked, and I think the only one who has said no has been Josh.
Okay. Well, uh, go ahead and ask that question because I got a good one for you.
Who have you intent wrecked, Randall?
So, I used to be really, really good at this, and to this day, I will admit that I have only intentionally wrecked one individual on purpose, and
Multiple times?
um, huh?
Multiple
Just
times?
once,
Just once? Okay.
just once, just one time. And after it was all said and done, the funny part was we all kind of laughed about it, and we were on good terms then after that. But and I know you know him very well. Um, and probably a lot of people who, when they listen to this, they'll know too who I'm talking about. Well, I'm going to say who it is, but the one person I intentionally wrecked ever in NR was Dylan Livingood.
Okay, interesting.
So I used to race at John Quinn's league, and we were racing at Martinsville one night, and Dylan came up and straight up dumped me off of turn 4 for no apparent reason. I had no idea what his deal was. And the first time I was like, yo, what the heck was that? You know, and I just kind of let it go. Well, 10 laps later, here he comes back up through again, wrecks me again. I'm like, what is this dude's problem? So the following week, I tell John Quinn, and I know you also know David Kokorian.
I,
I
I don't
told John,
I don't know them personally, but
really?
no.
Okay. Well, so John Quinn and DK or David Kokorian, they were in charge of this league. So I told John, I was like, dude, I don't know what that guy's problem is. I was like, I'm telling you now, if I get the opportunity, I'm going to wreck his ass. And at the time, I did not care. I did not care. And John told me, he's like, Randall, you just basically admitted to it, but please don't. Well, we raced at Lime Rock Park the following week. And so you go through turn 1 and turn 2, and you come down off of turn 2 to that sharp left-hand turn. I guess it's turn 3 technically. You know the turn I'm talking about?
Yeah, so it's you go down the start finish lines right before the braking zone. So turn 1's like a swooping corner with the access road, and then turn 2 is like a wide swooping left, and then there's turn 3, which is like a direct right, and you're on like a bit of a curvy straightaway.
So we were going down to turn 3, and I seen my opportunity. As he
turned
behind
the guardrail.
As he turned to go around the turn, I put my foot in the gas, T-boned his car all the way out into the wall, through the grass. Went all the way through the grass into the wall, and killed his car. And he was so mad because he was like, bro, what the heck was that? I was like, that's what you get for dumping me at Martinsville last week. And so after the race was over, like, it was funny because we were sitting there and DK went back and looked. He's like, now, Randall, when you said you were going to, like, wreck him, I didn't think you were really just going to mash the gas and take him all the way out turn 3 into the wall. He's like, that was the most intentional wreck that you could have ever done. You didn't even try to make it look like it was accidental. And so I was like, yeah, I was tired of the dude, like, dogging me at Martinsville. So I was going to show him. And come to find out, the funniest part of it was Dylan was mistaking me the whole entire time during Martinsville. He thought I was somebody else.
Oh my God.
He had beef with.
Oh
so
no.
he just kept wrecking me, not realizing that wasn't the guy he was after. So we kind of laughed. After it was all said and done, we kind of laughed about it because he was like, oh, dude, that is my bad too because I thought you were someone else. And I was like, well, because you were wrecking me, that's why I did that to you. So then basically, we laughed it off and whatnot. We finished out the season. But John Quinn told me, he's like, don't ever do that again. And to this day, I can say I have never intent wrecked someone since. I've never even, man. I mean, there's times out there on the track that you can get mad at somebody and whatnot and be like, man, if I can move him out of the way, I'm going to or whatnot. But, like, at the time in the heat of the moment, you might say that, but you don't really, for me, I don't really mean that. But I kind of keep that to myself. If I do say something like that, it's usually mumbling to myself. But I can proudly say, because I do have a very good reputation, obviously I run my own league now. I helped run other leagues since that time. And being in that type of position, you can't put yourself in that position to go out there and do that to other drivers, especially when you're trying to get drivers attracted to race with you. You can't set that type of example. So I can proudly say that I have not done that since then. I've been on the good side of things. I just now usually use my voice to show displeasure or strike the fear of God into everybody's soul.
Yeah. Fear, yeah. What's funny is the actual question is, what's the dumbest thing you've ever done on track? So that covered that. And then usually there's a follow-up question, which is, what's the dumbest thing you've ever said during or after a race? And you pretty much covered that with what you said after Martinsville. So, that was a perfect 2-in-1 answer right there.
Well, hey, I told you it was going to be good. I told you I was going to knock I was going to knock that right out with that one. It was golden. It was a golden thing. Now, if you ask me what's the dumbest thing I've ever seen someone do on a track that didn't involve me, was we raced at Texas World one season, and the ramp for Victory Lane.
Yep.
Two laps to go. Someone was mad that their race was over, and they drove all the way down pit road speeding jumped off the ramp and flew back out onto the track in front of everybody.
Oh, they actually made it all the way back on track?
Yeah, because once they hit the grass, they start like flipping and everything, and they rolled right up in front of the leaders.
Oh, so they didn't hit the back of the they didn't hit the back of victory lane. They just kind of drove off of it at a straight
because this
angle,
was
and they flew straight out.
This was the old school Texas World, so it didn't have that barrier.
Oh no. You want to name drop this person?
No.
Oh man. Do they
No,
still run an R?
they do not.
Oh, come on. You got to say the name then. Come on, man. At least give us a first name so we can guess.
Might not be who I thought it was, so I don't want to say it.
Oh, okay, whatever. Anyway, moving on. I know for myself, I haven't intent wrecked anybody in about 4.5 years now. We'll say though, there are times where I've gotten close where maybe I wreck someone like right after the checkered flag because I'm upset at them for something, or actually the other night I got put in the wall and I was like, man, what the hell are you doing? Like, he's like, oh, like the car on my inside pushed me up the track, and I'm like, man, I know damn well that car wasn't on your door 4 lanes up at Michigan. Like, you could have lifted. So I gave him, we were under stage caution, so I just kind of hit my gas a little bit and just kind of gave him a little bump in the back of his car, just to show like, yo, like that wasn't cool, man. Like, you could have done more to solve that. But yeah, like yourself, I just kind of vocally lose my mind instead. So still not good, but intentionally wrecking is severely frowned upon. So when you're someone like myself who had done it many, many times in like the first 5 years of my time in this community, I am glad to say that I no longer feel the need to do that. So,
Yeah.
To get to the next question, and I'm sure this will maybe be a funny one if you have an answer for this one. What's a moment between myself and you that you can recall?
Do we want to go back to the TDR day?
Yeah, let's do it. Come on.
I remember that race very, very well. It
Which
was at
race?
Watkins Glen.
Okay, the Watkins Glen one. Yep.
TDR, yeah.
Yep, I
TDR,
remember.
which was Phil Lacass's league. We were racing at TDR. We were racing at Watkins Glen. It was a road course, and like you said, you brought it up.
I think it was 2019, right? Or was it 2020?
Yeah, it was somewhere around that. I wasn't as good at road courses as I am today, but I wasn't bad either. Not at the level that I am today, not at the level that I like some other great drivers who have raced this game, including yourself, were at. But I remember it was me, Greg Lavelle, Robert Bauckham. I think we were in the top 4 with you, and you were very disappointed that none of the road course ringers showed up for that race. And you're like, I remember you said,
we had Andrew Miller, but yeah.
Yeah, you were like, man, I came over here thinking I was going to have some better competition than I did.
Did I say that? Jesus.
Yes, you did.
I can't believe I said that.
You said that, and that's when Greg Lavelle, I remember Greg Lavelle got mad about it, and Robert Bauckham went, like, Robert was, listen here, you motherfucker, if you think that, you can just go ahead and get the fuck out of here. Because I remember Robert was fired up. I was like, who the hell does this guy think he is? Like, I was like, damn, he comes in here and he's like, oh, I'm going to whip everybody's ass. This isn't going to be fun because nobody's here is really good. Like, y'all suck. And I was like, listen to this dude. I remember Robert was mad. That got me fired up. Phil was like, oh, we can't be doing that. We can't be acting like that. And then I think Robert didn't race. I think he backed out and left.
I think he was there. He ran.
No, it might have been him. Greg? Maybe it was Greg that left. Somebody left because they got mad about it. I remember somebody got mad and they left.
Maybe it was Greg. It might have been Greg.
But then I remembered that was I think that was the last race you ran because I
Yeah,
think Phil kicked
Phil
you out then.
Phil kicked me out after I won that race. He was like, "It's enough," and I was like, "What do you mean? I didn't do anything." That's what I said to him. I didn't even do anything. I think I was quiet the whole race. I didn't say another word in the whole race. I think I might have said something lap 1 or lap 2, and then the whole race I was just quiet.
Yeah, because I think by then everybody was so mad you were probably like, I don't know if I want to start any more fire. but
But
but nah, I remember you got kicked out from over there, and then I think maybe a year or so went by before you reached out to me about coming to race at Fast or whatnot, and like tried to settle the differences or whatnot. Like, hey, I know you're not happy with me or whatnot, but I want to come back and try to make things right. And I think since then, the rest has been history. We've been chilling on here, talking to each other back and forth.
okay, it was
We got a
2020.
lot of common ground nowadays. Like, talk about other things like NR related, setup stuff, work together with each other on things. We've had some great battles since then amongst each other. I remember North Wilkesboro at Fuel. Uh, I beat you.
Yeah.
I beat you on that
You beat
track.
me with your setup because it was open setup, and
Yeah,
then we ran your setup at
I
fast,
ran
and
my
I
setup
beat you
for the.
with your setup.
But we had a good race amongst each other, and basically we kind of knew though too. Like that setup was so freaking good. Whoever got out front, it was going to be hard to pass. But I gave it my all that race too against you, and it was a lot of fun. And like I said, since then, I think things have been great. I think you yourself have gotten a lot better with things. Um, I know there's times that things don't seem like they're going right, and you kind of just walk away from it, let it dissolve, come back then, um, and kind of with a different tone. Like this is I didn't mean it like this. I meant it to be like this to try to see have people understand like that you've changed. And I can see it from back when you raced at TDR, back when you were racing all those other places before that. I know a lot of people always thought that you were really kind of a dick. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there.
Probably not wrong.
And yeah, and I think though since you took that break, you come back, you've gotten yourself involved in some really good leagues with some really good people. Um, and some of the leagues are just kind of like chill leagues that you just go over and just race or whatnot, just to have fun with those guys and stuff. I think it's gotten a lot better. It's gotten where a lot of people can come to you in a different manner and not have to worry about Zach being aggressive dickhead to somebody. He can be the guy who wants to share knowledge because he's been there. So I think just from that point to where we're at today, like you've come a long ways with not only just with me, but with a lot of people out here in the community.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate hearing that from you. I've always tried to be good, a good person. A lot of times I just see red, and, I'm a bull running down the streets, and no one's going to stop me unless you just kick me out of TeamSpeak or something. So I appreciate hearing that from you. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm definitely trying. There's a lot of dumb little grudges that I've held over the years, and this past week, the whole month of April, really. April's always such a weird month for me mentally for some reason, especially last year. But even this year, it has been like a weird roller coaster of emotions for no real particular reason, and it's just kind of made me realize that whether the other side reciprocates it or not, I just want it to be. I'm just gonna let it go. Just let it go, because Brian Voiles has told me a lot that just let it go, let it go. And like you said, I think we had a little moment a few weeks ago where I was just like, like I'm pissed. Now I'm pissed at this guy. This guy says he's got a lot to say. I think I'm just gonna head out. I don't even want to hear it. And I've actually been told that all of that stuff still got streamed to YouTube, and I have had zero interest in going to that stream to hear what was said. So I'm good. I move forward.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the big thing too. Is like, if I didn't believe that you've gotten better and whatnot, like I said, we've built a pretty good friendship here lately and whatnot, and I offered an opportunity for you to be a part of my team because we share the same things in common. We're competitive. We want to go out there and race. We want to go out there and win. And um, you know, to have you under the banner with me and Josh and all the people who used to race for this race team that I have, um, that's a very good group of people. Um, so that should speak very highly too as well on where you stand at today, and how far you've come.
Right on. So to circle back to TDR, I was actually looking through my wins list because I know I won Watkins Glen 2 years running at TDR before I got kicked out there after the second one. The first one was 2019, and we had the halfway caution in that one. That race, or did we have the halfway caution? I think we did. That race, it was myself, Blake McCandless, and David Day. We were lights out gone. And I don't exactly remember what happened during the race, but I want to say David screwed up somewhere during the event, and then Blake had good pace, but he just wasn't quite keeping up with me. And I ended up winning that one. And then, of course, like you said, we had the 2021, which I had Andrew a little bit, but I was pretty much lights out regardless. Anyway, I think I might have. I don't want to say for sure. I might have lapped Robert in that race. I don't remember if that one was like a green flag start to finish race or if we had the halfway yellow or not. I don't remember, so I'm not going to say for sure that I did. But I want to say I passed him at one point, and I was like half waiting for him to send me into the dirt. Um, but Robert was always a great guy to race. I know he's busy with real life stuff. I miss racing against him. He was always a good challenge to race. Always was clean. I remember I got him once at Richmond in 2019 at TDR, and I remember him saying his headset died. Which to this day, because of how I was back then, I'm not sure if his headset really died or if he was just saying that to take away some of the happiness I had for winning that Richmond race, because I was pumped that I had a shot to go toe to toe with Robert, because Robert is lights out on short tracks.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there's a three-winded question here. You can basically just pick one, or DJ Curtis last week actually was able to answer both two questions with the same answer. So the three-step question is, what race win means the most to you? What's the biggest race you've won? And what's the biggest championship you've won? And you can also say what championship means the most to you.
That's a long. That's a lot of races to look back to.
Whatever maybe sticks out, like myself, we've won like a couple hundred races now. It's hard to really start like picking one out. So, usually whatever can come to mind is like the first one that you could say like this is up there for sure. Like it might not be number one, but this is up there for sure.
I think I can answer it in basically two races, one championship, and that was I'm trying to think exactly what year it was, but it was the last season that Fast ran open setup. Or actually, it might have been the second from the last. So, um, I won the Fast Championship in 2018. I think that was the last. It was either the last or the second to last season that we ran open setups at Fast. We started in 2012 at Fast, and I never actually won. I've won a lot of championships, but I never won like an open setup with the group of drivers that we had at that time racing over there. Like, Davey Hazard, Tommy Bordeaux, Brandon Hawkin, Ryan Pace, Austin Hicks, William Page is a bunch of guys that I can just. Josh Moyers was a part of that too. Like, a lot of those guys, they were big names, a lot of them. Um, Especially Brandon Hawkin, a lot of people know him. Um, they know what he's gone on to do now. But the season finale was at Chicagoland that year. And I was actually in third. Not really. I was in third place in the point standing, racing there at the end of the race. Didn't think I had a shot at winning the race, let alone win the championship. Basically, Brandon Hawkin and Davey Hazard was running away from everybody that race. Um, and those two on the final lap off of turn 4 collided with each other because they were racing so hard, and they wrecked. And not only did they wreck, but they also hit me and spun me, but I spun across the line to win the race and the championship. So that was my first and only open setup Cup Series championship at my own league, which is kind of crazy to believe, but it's the truth. Um, so that I think that one there, for it to be like my actual league to win a Cup Series championship, um, that was very big on my list. Um, you know, biggest race win falls within the same season. At Phoenix that season, it came down to me, Brandon Hawkin, and William Page. It was a 3-car battle for the win, and I was able to get by Brandon Hawkin and hold him off to win the race. And I'm sure you know that during that time frame, Brandon Hawkin was a beast to be reckoned with. Like, if he wasn't winning races, it was because he had a bad day and wasn't by his own doing. Um, that dude won so many races at Fast during that span that he was there racing with us. If it was a road course that came up, you basically could check him off the box that you knew he was going to win. He was just that good. And to go into Phoenix, which I think was the race prior to getting into the championship race, to have held him off in like 5 laps, that was a big accomplishment, in my opinion. So that's probably one of the biggest wins to go against him like toe to toe in an open setup situation and actually outdo him, because it was very rare for that to happen. And he was one of the reasons that he motivated me to actually improve, like racing on road courses and places like that, because the guy was just so good. Being able to go out there and go against him toe to toe was a big accomplishment. So, I guess basically, I could cut it down to one season, championship, race win against some of the best drivers I've raced against.
Right on. I know there's actually one win that I look back on, and it was at Fast. It was in the Truck Series that you had at the time. I think it was the Chromatic Designs Truck Series. It was the Zach Krastowski's design thing that was the sponsor. And we ran at Kentucky. It was a small field, but it was Kentucky Trucks Open Setup. I think it was Open Setup. Or maybe it was fixed. Let me actually pull a rain check on that one real quick, because that one was forever ago. Let me see. Okay, it was open. It was open setup. I have it listed as an open setup win. That was only my 28th win on the game at the time. It was around the time where I was starting to get hot, starting to really figure this thing out. But I remember you were in that race and Brandon was in that race, and I don't know if I have the replay still. I think I do. I think I just don't know what track it goes to. But I ended up winning with like a pass, like right at the end. It was like two to go or one to go. I was able to get in the lead, and I was able to hold y'all off. Y'all were like, I think I was actually side by side with somebody at the line. I'd have to dig up the photo, but I mean that was a pretty big win for me at the time, even though it was CTS. Um, to be able to get a win against you and Brandon was a pretty big deal. Yeah, I'd have to check my Facebook to find it for sure, but I think it was a pretty close win. It wasn't like I won by a long shot or anything like that. But talking about the success Brandon had at Fast, when I first came back to your league in 2023, around May or June, got off to a decent hot streak, but then started having some races where I was there but couldn't quite win. There were a few tracks that we run on the Fast calendar that I hadn't run in a while, and the way they were set up, I wasn't quite sure how to get them. But won quite a bit. It wasn't playoff eligible, and then last year I was gonna run full time, and then at the time, I was running over at Bomb Squad, and I was like, oh man, like 3 straight nights a week and Sunday, like I can't do it. Like I need Sunday night off. Um, so I didn't start racing with y'all, but man, if I had, I won way too many races last year when I came back to y'all in May. Way too many. And we're probably on that pace this year. Not to toot my own horn, but
So, speaking of him, I'll just point out. I'll tell you how dominant he was. So, Brandon Hawkin raced at Fast for quite a while. Um, his first race win was our 125th race that we ran at the league when he came in. That was his first win. He won at Phoenix. The guy he beat was Josh Moyers. um, there's an actual list that's called Brandon's Victims, and it's a list of everybody who has finished second to Brandon in all of his 85 race wins from Fast.
wow, 85.
85.
I think I gotta be around 30 now.
But yeah, Davey Hazard finished 26 times to him in second place.
Oh my gosh. It's funny. It's funny you mention that because Tyler Mallon, a good friend of ours, and many people, of course, know who Tyler is. Um, there was a string where I would finish second to him a lot, and then Jovan Anderson would finish second to him a lot. And then there have been other drivers that have finished second to Tyler a lot. So Tyler, might as well have a victim list himself.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start one for me because again, not to toot my own horn,
Yeah.
but I won what I think I think I counted it. I think 2023 I won like 7 or 8 out of like the 20 races I ran, and then last year I was on an absolute tear because I was racing like almost every night, so my muscle memory was just like completely in tune like every night of the week. I want to say I won like 16 or 17 of the 23 24 races I ran with y'all last year. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. So just to go back onto that though, with his victim list, these are some of the big names that a lot of people still know today that actually raced with or against Brandon. Um, like I said, Davey had 26. Our everybody knows Cosman. Cosman finished 5 times to him in second place. Austin Hicks finished 4 times behind him in second. I finished 3 times behind him. Ricky Johnson finished twice behind him in second place. Josh Moyers finished second to him once.
Ricky
Danny
Johnson,
Hardee,
meaning Jovan, correct?
yes, my bad, Jovan Anderson. They didn't change his name on there since he's changed his name. And another one that a lot of people know because of his success over at Bomb Squad and stuff, KJ. KJ finished to Brandon Hawkin one time in second place.
Right
So
on.
He's had a lot of people who's finished second to him that are big names still today in our community, which is really cool.
Hell yeah. So let's get to a quick little fun question, and then I've got a pretty big question for you, special question for you. But we'll do the little fun one first. What is your favorite mod, favorite track, which that can include a specific version if you like, favorite league to race at, can't be your own. I know you don't really race anywhere much anymore, but that can be past league, doesn't have to be current. And then your favorite physics type. And you can answer that in whatever order you like, whatever's easiest to difficult.
So for my favorite mod, it's always been the truck mods. The CWS 2015 mod, which was the most recent truck mod that we have currently. Um,
Wink, wink.
I yeah, wink, wink. That that by far is probably one of my favorite mods. I've always loved the trucks. I don't know why. I just have. Um, but I have to put that at the top. But obviously the new next gen car, being a part of the mod team with that, um, watching it get developed, being involved in testing it and all that kind of stuff. That's a very close second. I mean, obviously, that's our big series that we run on Sunday nights. So, um, having that mod that Thomas did uh, has been huge in our community. Um, and there's stuff hopefully in the near future coming out that's going to make NR better. But definitely the truck mod is my favorite. And it's kind of weird because you're going to laugh at me when I say this, but um, even though I like the truck mod, Cup physics are my favorite physics. Uh, just because the CTS physics, I don't get me wrong, I don't hate them, but they're more draft dependent, especially on the mile and a half to 2 miles tracks and stuff like that. They're very heavily draft dependent, whereas the Cup cars, uh, you have more, you know, racecraft involved. You have to drive the car. You have to drive the track. Uh, Especially with road courses. Road courses with Cup physics, by far, I think, is some of the best racing out there. Um, with that physic, um, and then so you brought up about the tracks, and I guess this kind of rolls over into that. Recently, I've gotten big into the whole road course stuff. Since I don't want to sound like I'm cocky, but I always felt like I had a really good stranglehold on like the ovals and stuff like that. And my weakness was road course racing. Um, I wasn't bad at it. I wasn't great either. And I know you can attest to this because you've raced against me quite a few times head to head. I've actually gotten to beat you twice on one track that you're still looking to win at. At least at fast I know. I'm a big fan of road course racing now because I literally spent 2 years just practicing and practicing to get to the point to where I felt like I could race against people like Brandon, people like Davey and Tommy, and even yourself. Um, and there's some others out there like Dunn. Dunn's a really good road course racer as well. Um, and there's several people that I'm not even naming that I've gone head to head with on road courses recently and been able to feel like I belong with them now. There was a time that I didn't feel like, hey, if I got a top five, I got a top five. But now I feel like I should be out there going racing for a win every week with some of the most competitive drivers. So, um, my favorite oval is Texas. My favorite oval is Texas. It's always been Texas. Um, just because that was where I got my first points win. I've been there over 20 sometimes. I don't know the exact number. Um, and you said about being more, I could be more. It's how can I? Let's see. It was Texas FSE is my favorite version of Texas. I'm not a big fan of the new reconfiguration, even though we do run it because we try to run everything as much as we can be what NASCAR runs. Um, but the Texas FSE version before they did the whole reconfig, that's by far my favorite one. I can sometimes say that I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love the track. Turn 2 wall hates me,
Mm-hmm.
especially with 3 laps to go. It likes to stick out a little bit further. Um, but I've always loved that track. Always been a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of the mile and a half with Cup Physics. I've gotten really good with them. Charlotte's probably my second favorite mile and a half. That's probably where I got the second most wins on mile and a half track. Um, my favorite road course is Canadian Tire. I don't know why that is, but
Oh yeah,
but they're
I wonder why.
yeah.
Not like I've
But
shot
no,
myself in the foot there 2 years running.
yeah, but no. Honestly, my by far my favorite is getting into the road courses and stuff. Like, uh, I know we recently had a new one that we ran. Um, that it didn't go as planned as I didn't have as much fun as I thought I would, but it was still fun to run. Um, and going back to it, it would be just as fun, and I think I would do a whole lot better.
Just watch that
Um,
green patch.
yeah, no kidding. But yeah, just love the road course racing now, and I think it's because I devoted a lot of time into getting to that point to get better with it. Um, what part? I think I missed the part. What part did I miss?
Favorite league you've raced at over the years?
Oh, that's easy. When you asked that, and you said it can't be my own league. It's no doubt. Um, I've raced in tons of leagues. They've all been a lot of fun. A lot of them I've actually gotten to have my hands involved in. Like when I was at TDR, Phil had me come in and help try to make their league a little bit better, with like tracks and stuff like that, setups and whatnot. Um, one league I will say that I by far have the most fun at racing that's not in my own is Mondays of Thunder. Matt and Jess and Keith and them do a phenomenal job over there. They're a laid back group of guys who just like to get on here and race. They don't have the egos. They don't care what level of competition you are. They're open to everybody. They welcome everybody in. They give everybody a fair chance. Um, and they're just a good group of guys. They do things a little bit different than other leagues does, which makes them even more unique. But just being able to go over there and not have like any type of admin duty or whatnot, um, and just go back and step back, relax, and enjoy racing. Um, that is definitely by far one of my favorite places to go to. I haven't gotten to do that as often now as I like to because I'm constantly playing basketball. Um, and it winds up being on the same night that they run their Cup Series and their Dash Series. But um, I actually just recently somebody was looking to race this past Monday night. They were their league wasn't racing. They were looking for a place to race at, and I tagged Matt and Keith and so on. I was like, "Hey, go check out Mondays of Thunder because they'll welcome you in there and they'll let you come in there and race and have fun with it." And I think the guy showed up over there Monday night. I think he had a pretty good run. I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think they're letting new people in right now because they're in the playoffs.
Well, I think didn't Josh race on Monday night?
Josh, too?
Yep.
He was let in and he showed up, but or no, he didn't show up. He signed up, but yeah, he wasn't. He did not make it out to
Oh,
race.
well, that was a shame.
Yeah.
But I know I messaged or he asked about it and I gave him a shout out about it and I know I seen him join the Discord to go over and race. So, but
But yeah, I would say to your point, Mondays of Thunder is definitely a blast. I would say I actually have more fun racing over there than I do at Fast. No offense. I mean, I have a ton of fun at Fast, but MOT, like you said, like it's just so laid back. Um, the way they run the races, they're split up in the stages with stage breaks. So like tire saving's not like as big of a thing you have to worry about, which I think tire saving, while it is an art to win, it can be tiring to do that everywhere and have it mean something every night. Like I like it here and there. Um, but like I've found recently, as much as I don't agree that the fastest hot lapper deserves the win, I do like racing tracks with less tire fall off because I don't want to have to worry about my tires as soon as the green flag drops. Like it's just not always as ideal, not as
Yeah,
fun.
and I agree, and that's why I said like with Mondays at Thunder, what they do over there, how they run their league, and just the different atmosphere. Because like you said, like fast, there's a lot of others out there fast. I know Bomb Squad's the same way. Like they're laid back and all, but at the end of the day, like, and I think fast is laid back too. But at the end of the day, fast is like you're there to compete. You're there to go toe to toe with the best, and it's got a lot of more uh like you know like you said, tires, we got tire sets, we got you know no stage breaks, so you have green flag pit stops, um and it takes a lot more mental preparation to race in that league, whereas you're just going like Mondays at Thunder, you're just racing to have fun and have those stage breaks, like you said, where everybody gets all caught back up. Like you could be 5 seconds off from somebody in the first stage, and then in the next stage you could be up there racing in the top five. And it's like I said, it's just different situations, which makes it a lot more. I guess it's a lot more variety that they offer, and that makes it a little bit more. That makes it fun. So that's that's my opinion. Like as far as what they do and how they do it, that's a really good place for people to go get involved if they are just looking to have a place to wind down and have fun because they don't take things very super, serious. They're serious about stuff with their rules and whatnot. Like every place has rules, but exactly kind of what I'm saying is like they don't expect you to go out there and be
Try hard.
competitive, yeah, or try harding. It's just something to go out there, have fun with. Uh, they all get along with each other. They're a great group of guys. They constantly are on their Discord talking, uh, all different types of things, whether it's NASCAR, off-topic subjects, sports, all kinds of stuff. So it's definitely a good environment to be in.
Yeah, I definitely want to have Matt on here at some point. I know Keith and Tate too, but Keith and Tate did a podcast last year with Tristan Grace when Tristan Grace had his thing going on. So I'm not too antsy on getting Keith and Tate, even though my format I feel like is a little more different. Um, but I do intend to have them on at some point if they are willing, as well as getting Matt Moss on here. Matt's actually been a little bit of kryptonite for me over at MOT. Whenever it seems like I can't quite get the win at the end of some of these races, it's because I'm chasing down that damn 3 car and I just can't get by him sometimes. So, great racer, but like you said, very laid back environment to race. So to get to my big question here, and this will pretty much be our last NR related question for the show. What can you tell me about the kind of person Danny Hardee was?
Wow. You did leave the bombshell at the end, didn't you?
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, I knew Danny from the first time I actually raced in a competitive online league. Um, I started the same time that his son HB Hardy started racing online as well. Um, you know, back then, all those years ago, um, it was way different than what it is today. Um, Even though myself, I tried to uh, bring some of that of what knowledge and what I was taught and what I learned and stuff to today, you don't have that kind of impact that you did back then because you had a lot more diversity. You had leagues everywhere because, I think I got started, the servers were already down, so everybody was hosting stuff off of different providers and whatnot. And there was tons and tons and tons of leagues um, that's out there. So being able to be a part of Revolution Racing League, um, being able to be in there as one of the first group of people that went through that league with Danny being an admin over there, um, it was a blessing in my opinion. Um, the dude was one of the most down to earth people, always kind hearted. You could ask him anything, and he was not one bit afraid to tell you. Um, he was always honest about everything. He was always straightforward with everything. If you were goofing around or you were messing around, he would tell you. Um, if you were having issues, he would help you. Um, like I said, when I first started over there, I was trying to figure out these open setups. I was wrecking loose. I could not keep a car under me to save my life. Danny started. I think Danny and Sean both did, but Danny really took me under his wing. He took obviously HB, and then the other one that came in was Austin Aches. He took all three of us together, and there were some other people that would get in there and race, but they had what they called a fundamental series, and that was just to get in there to get extra practice for the upcoming Cup race or whatnot for the new people, the NR who didn't have the experience that some of them did, and he would sit down with each one of us and basically help us learn how to build a setup for that coming race. Well, what's your car doing? Is it kicking out from the rear? And this is what you should try to do. If this is going on, you need to do this. Um, if it's overheating, you need to change your gearing or you need to take the tape off. If you take the tape off, you got to edit this. Man was a walking knowledge book for NR. Um, and just to be able to be associate with him, to be in the same group as him, um, he made setups for HB, for myself, for Austin. If we had to run assist, he made them where they were still loose enough that you could run assist and not kill your tires until we got comfortable with not running assist. Um, so
Wow, that's a pretty interesting bit that he actually helped you guys like tune it to like around the assist. Like he was that knowledgeable that he could tell you what to change and be like, okay, like you're gonna do this and you're gonna be still running 15% steering assistance, but we're gonna change this up and you'll be good. You won't murder your stuff.
yeah, yeah, and that was the big thing. Like, now, was it as fast as what they were going to be running? No, it wasn't. Was it 2 to 3 tenths off of what they were running? Yeah, but it was because you had the assist on, but you were still able to drive the car how you want to drive it. Until you got comfortable with it, you would never be. And that was one thing that he really tried to imprint on everybody is like, hey, until you're comfortable with it, don't go out there and try to compete with the best of the best. Like Sean and them were so competitive when that league started. They were constantly battling each other for wins. Um, and there was a couple other guys that was racing before they went off to their own league that was very competitive as well. So he would give us goals like you want to try to finish in the top 10. Like you get a top 5, you had an amazing race. But your goal is finish in the top 10. Like if you finish anything better, you had a really good race. But he didn't push you like he pushed you to get better, but he pushed you to go at your own pace. which I thought was something amazing. Like, some people want to think that they can be the greatest person overnight. And he was able to tell you like straight up. And that's why I liked about his honesty is you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be the best NR racer. It's going to take some time. It took me a year and a half, I think, to get my first win. And like I said, that was a non-points race. And then after I got that, it was like the monkey jumped off your back and you were able to go out there and compete. So, um, and talking about how he was so diverse, he would race at leagues that had realistic weather. This man had, and I kid you not, because I was one of the lucky people who, when he first gave it up the first time because of his accident, he gave up NR. He sent out his setups to a handful of people. Um, it was Danny Hardee's whole setup folder, and you know, to be one of the people that actually got that, the man had raced in realistic weather stuff. He had setups for 75-degree weather, 85-degree weather, uh, track, all different tracks, like all of them. Like, oh, if you're running 70 and cloudy, here's a setup that was made to run 70 and cloudy. If you're running 80, 80-degree weather, this is a setup to run. And the man was very knowledgeable. Like, what he was able to do in this game was phenomenal. And, like I said, he had his injury. He had to leave for a while and he came back. Once he came back, he wasn't at first, he wasn't as good as what he used to be. And, you know, being a person who was there from the get go, to be there when he was involved in his accident, to be there when he came back. I can't sit here and say that it wasn't heartbreaking because it wasn't the Danny Hardy we all knew. Like we knew him, but we didn't know like all the struggles that he went through and everything. But for him to come back in the NR race again, his motor skills wasn't quite there yet. His talking was really slow. You had to really sit there to listen. Um, and that was one thing about everybody was that dude had so much respect in any league that he raced in. When he talked, everybody would listen. And you know, he came back. And he got better and better to the point where he was out there competing again. And that was one of the coolest things to see. And you know, there for a while, he went off and he raced at Bomb Squad. He went off and ran a couple other places here and there. He run a race or two. He always, I think the really cool thing about it was he always stayed in touch and he would always check up on everybody from time to time. And eventually he came back and he came back and raced at Fast. We first branched off from Revolution Racing League. He was not a big fan of us leaving, like of us starting our own league, because he felt like things were going wrong, and with us leaving, all it did was cause the demise of that league. And I don't think it was really that case because a lot of people who did go to Fast still raced over there until they shut their doors. But I know he was not very happy with the whole situation of when Fast was created. So over time, for him then to come back and actually race at Fast in the few races that he did run, kind of made it like a full circle. Like it was good to have him there at the end before you know everything else happened. And he stayed in contact with me. We talked a lot of times about stuff, and actually, he came back over to us. I think it was about the time that the original Bomb Squad was having their issues, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do, what direction they were going to go in. And him and Keith and KJ Joven came over, um, and they raced with us. Matt Stern was another one that came over and raced with us and all. But they all left, and Danny stayed and ran a couple more extra races than what they ran. But when he passed away, um, it it affected me, because like this man was there from the get go when I first started racing online, um, and he just shared so much wisdom with me, so much knowledge that I still use today. A lot of the stuff that we do at Fast, if it wasn't for Danny Hardee, we wouldn't have what we have. Um, a lot of the setups, some of the fixed setups we run are Hardee setups because the man knew what to do. He knew how to make good setups that would make everybody comfortable to run. So, like I said, Fast wouldn't be what Fast is today if he didn't have that type of impact on me. Um, to this day, I still talk to HB. Probably not as much as I should. Um, so I don't know if he gets on here and he watches this. He knows that I have a ton of respect for him. I have a ton of respect for his dad. We talk quite a bit. He has an open door to come over here and race with us. I mean, we retired his dad's number, and I told HB like nobody's ever going to race the 03 at Fast again unless it's a Hardy. So, you know, that was really cool. It was a cool gesture to do. On our Facebook page to this day, uh, the banner is Danny Hardee's car that he ran over here before before his passing. Um, HB reached out to me after I put that up there, and he told me how much he appreciated, the fact that I had his dad's car up there. Um, and it's still up there today. Um, just because of how much of an impact he has made. But I mean, it's bigger than just me. Like Josh Moyers was a part of that group. Austin Hakes was a part of it. There's still tons of people who's around this community that Danny has impacted, and I'm pretty sure all of them will say that they wouldn't be where they're at today if it wasn't for being involved with that guy, being involved with him, some way, shape, or form. Um, and it just goes to show you though, like the big community probably doesn't even. Some people don't know who Danny Hardee is, but to this day, to an extent, even in some of these Area 23 track design tracks that we're releasing and stuff, Danny has had an impact on those. So to this day, still within this community, Danny has had an impact throughout the community, whether people know it or they don't. So to me, like being able to carry that on, to have that knowledge that of what he has taught me, and to be able to give that out to other people is a great thing in my opinion. Um, in my mind, it tells me like hey, I'm carrying on his legacy to an extent because of what he bestowed into me, what he showed me was right and wrong, what you know what to do and what not to do. So it's I'm not going to try to tear up, but I've been doing pretty good with it. But like I said, his passing really did impact me. It really upset me. The first thing I thought about was HB and his family, Danny's wife. Um, I think I was the first one to reach out to Tim to tell Tim that he passed away because Tim was traveling the U.S. now, and Tim used to be really good friends with Danny. They knew Danny really well. Um, I think I reached out to Maverick about it as well. I was the one who talked to Maverick about it because not too many people knew how to get a hold of him. So and I think I also told Sean Romero. And like I said, Sean Romero and Danny they were the ones who originally started Revolution Racing League together. So they had that history. But just to know that, like all those guys together, the impact that they made together, has shaped a lot of what NR is today, regardless of what people know. So I think that's really cool.
There's a stream out there on Joe's channel, JTN Network, Johto Network, from 2023. Joe is actually not even on the call. It's Chris Pickett and memory escapes me who the co-commentator is, but it's Chris Pickett was on the call, and it was at Kansas. And at the end of the race, it came down to pit stop strategy, where a bunch of guys took 4 tires, including Jovan Anderson. Danny took 2 tires only, got about a 6 or 7 second gap over Jovan, and Danny was able to run it just fast enough to where when they came off of turn 4, Jovan got to his inside, but they went all the way down to the apron, and Jovan ended up having to try to go in the grass to get by him, and Danny won it by probably, I think, like half a fender. And the call by Chris is fantastic. I think this was around when Chris was really starting to get into commentary too. It was like one of his first races that he did for Joe. I think it might have been the first race Joe had. Joe didn't have himself doing commentary, because I used to follow Joe's streams a lot. So I want to say that was the first time that Chris was the full on play by play guy. And, that ended up being Danny's last Bomb Squad Cup win. So, I think I went back and I watched it at some point last year and just like listened to the interview, because that's Danny's last interview there. But you can find him through like countless streams, I'm sure, from over the years, and just being able to hear his insight when he talks about like how the race went, what he felt he had to do, and HB races very much like Danny did. They're very patient. They don't really push the issue at the beginning of the race, but then they're up there at the end, and you're in for a fight if they're up there at the end, because they are tough to beat. And just hear your side of what you knew of Danny, how he brought you under his wing, passed on a bunch of stuff to you. You very much are carrying on his legacy, as are so many others in this community who knew Danny. I personally never got to know Danny too well. I knew HB, and in turn I got to race against Danny a little bit, but I never knew him to the level that a lot of you guys had. So it's really really cool, inspiring to hear what a great guy Danny was.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, that last race there, Bomb Squad, his last race win, being at Kansas was on top of everything. Uh, one of the greatest things, because Kansas was his favorite track. I do believe, if I remember correctly, Kansas was by far his favorite track, if not his best track. Um, it didn't matter if it was the trucks, if it was the Cup Series. It didn't matter. That guy knew his way around Kansas, and if I remember correctly, I remember that race that he won, and I thought that it was, you know, that being that his last race win, it was a very good closing, of the book of Danny Hardee to have won at Kansas. And on top of that, though, too, like you said, he barely held on to win, and he beat Jovan. Um, that's, in my opinion, it's got to be one of the biggest races for Jovan. Knowing that as much impact that he's also had on Jovan and those guys over there, that was Danny's last win, and he was fender to fender with him at the line. You know, that's going to be definitely a very good memory for him, for years and years and years, if not the rest of his life. So just to have those type of stories, to be able to go back and talk about him, to talk about, um, what he did on the track, what he did off the track, how knowledgeable he was, like the type of guy he was, the type of friend he was to everybody. Um, Even outside of NR racing, like just a guy that you could go talk to, because he was just that easygoing and you could rely on him. Like he was a reliable guy that you could just go and talk to, and he would sit there and listen, and then give you his insight on what he thought was the best route to go. Um, whether it be about life, whether it be about NR or a career or anything of the sort. Like, he was the type of person who would be there to listen. And like I said, just a soft spoken guy, like he never really raised his voice at anybody if he was not happy. He would let you know he wasn't happy, but he would also do it in a very calm manner. You never seen him step over the bounds of what, a lot of us who were hot headed or whatnot back then would do. So just to have that type of demeanor within the community, being involved with him and whatnot, um, it's definitely showed me how to be with certain things, with certain, with people. Um, but yeah, like I said, like, those memories, those races that people ran with him, uh, especially that one there, it's something that people are going to remember for a long time. Like I said, if not their lives. So that just goes to show you really how much impact he really had. Like you said, like within those different leagues within the community, regardless of what people know or don't know.
Right on. And I'm not sure if it might have changed over the years, but I know the Bomb Squad Racing League has been hosting the Danny Hardee Memorial Race now 2 years running. They've been running it at Texas. I want to say when I asked those familiar why they chose Texas, they said that Texas was Danny's favorite. So I don't know if Kansas was his best, and maybe it was his favorite. It changed. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna take your word for it. But so to pose the question, I know you have quite the busy schedule. If you could get over there and run one of those memorial races, would you be interested in doing that? Because like you said, Texas is your favorite, so I think it would be
Yeah.
quite fitting.
So so yeah, like you said, and I could be wrong on it. I think when I say that Danny was good at Kansas, the man was good at Kansas. Now, whether or not that was his favorite track to run at, it could have been Texas. That's why they run Texas. Um, but, and he was also good at Texas. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, and it's a little bit off the topic, but and I know you had him on here, and I don't know if you asked him in regards to Danny or whatnot, but Josh Moyers made the original promo for Revolution Racing League.
Okay, no, I did not
And
know that. Okay.
so Moyers' promo has Danny Hardee and Sean Romero crossing the start finish line at Texas. It is at Texas where they're racing each other head to head, and I'm pretty sure at the end of the promo you can't really tell who it is that crosses the line first, but I'm pretty sure it's Danny. So that's another cool little teaser that's still out there, because I know Josh still has it hosted on his YouTube. But when Josh did that promo, he did it at Texas, and I'm pretty sure he had Danny Hardee crossing the line first.
All right. Wow. Yeah, I'll have to ask Josh to send me a link to that so I can check that out.
If not, I
Um,
got you, because I still
yeah.
have it too.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, would definitely be a blast to see you get a chance to run that. I think I know the first year I got to run it in HB1. We ran it on a Saturday, but last year they ran it on Danny's birthday. So if they continue to do that, I believe this year it would be on a Tuesday because it was on a Monday last year. But I think it would be cool for you to at least get a chance to run one of those over there, um, and throw your hat in. They're long races though. They're running. I don't know if you've seen the streams. They're running 50% race at Texas over there in Cup
Yeah.
Physics.
Yeah, no, I seen him, and like you said, I thought that was also pretty cool when they did the first memorial race that HB was the one who won it. I thought that was really cool that he was able to do that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've talked to Brian, I've talked to Joven, and I've talked to HB and stuff. I mean, fast after he passed away, I kind of waited a little bit, but we had we had a memorial race as well. One of the races we kind of dedicated towards to him. Um, I made sure I reached out and talked to HB about it because there was a lot of stuff going on at the time. There was a lot of places that wanted to honor him, and some of them went about it like technically the wrong way at the time. Um, but me and HB, we were always had some really good contact with each other. We've been close to each other, and when I told him what I want to do, he was 100% supportive of it. But we were able to do something ourselves for it. But yeah, I mean, I've talked to him about it. I've talked to Joven about it. I know Joven reached out to me before about it. Brian Boyles has reached out because they knew, like, there were some of us that races that fast and other places that knew him and that he had an impact on. So, you know, it's always a great opportunity to get involved in that. Um, just unfortunately, there's, like you said, with scheduling and that kind of stuff, sometimes it just doesn't work out. But yeah, I would definitely love to get over and race in one of them with them. So hopefully before I hang it up, I'll be able to do.
You hang it up? Yeah, right. You'll be running this thing as long as we can. Um, yeah, so really appreciate your answer there. A very long answer, but I think a good answer for people to just sit back and listen to the story that can really be told there. To move out of the NR segment, I know you're a pretty big basketball guy. What got you into playing basketball? Whether it was like in high school or what, I'm assuming, and then how you've stayed into it with all the recreational stuff.
Yeah. So, um,
And turn that phone game off. My goodness.
you hear it?
Yeah, I've been hearing it for like 5 minutes.
like, it's just over here going in the background. Um, no. So yeah, I to this day still I play basketball. Rec and some in rec leagues and stuff. Um, you know, very competitive. Um, I was big into basketball ever since I was a little kid. Don't know why. Just it was a sport that I enjoyed over like baseball or football. Like when I got into high school, I constantly got chased after about trying to play football. Uh, and I was like, nah, I'm not the type of person who wants to get tackled. Um, even though everybody has always said like, once you get hit once, that's you don't have to worry. Like it's completely different after that. But I just never wanted to take that risk. Um, but basketball was always a sport that I was very interested in growing up. Um, so I played all the way through. Um, during high school, I played Parks and Rec. Every year they had Parks and Rec League. We played. Me and my brother both played. Um, funny story about that. We could never be on the same team with each other. We fought too much. We were too competitive. So when we did the rec stuff, my mom had to always have us separated. They always wanted to keep brothers together on the same teams just to help with traveling and whatnot. So they wouldn't, like if one game's at one time and one's at another, you don't have to sit there and wait. You're all just on the same team. But we couldn't do that. We were always against it. So growing up, we were always on opposite teams and stuff. Um, never really played together until we got out of high school. Um, I actually, a lot of people don't know this. I've told some people, but I actually got a letter from the Canton Charge back right after I got out of high school when I was like 20 or something like that. Uh, I got invited to go to Ohio and try out for their. At the time, it was still the developmental league. It wasn't the G League like it is today. Um, and one of the guys I used to race with, named Sean Whitehill, he's from out and he's from Ohio, so he would always pick on me. He's like, because I didn't go, I decided not to do it. He's like, dude, you could went and play with LeBron. You're stupid. What were you thinking? And I was like, oh, I don't think I would ever have made it. It'd been a cool experience to go out there and actually do it just to experience it. But Never did. Never went out and did it. Um, Probably should have. Looking back now, like I said, it'd been a cool experience regardless of what would have happened. Um, but a lot of people also don't know. Like I tried out for an ABA team that was just starting up. Um, Back in I guess my early 30s. They were out of Roanoke, Virginia. Um, they were called the Roanoke Rising Stars. I went to the tryout and I tried out for them, and I probably was in the top half of the group. And I'll tell you a funny story about it. I was feeling pretty good that day, and I decided to drive the ball down the middle of the paint, and I was going to go up for a floater. And there's a 6'10" or 7-foot dude standing at the basket. He sent my shot 6 rows up into the bleachers. Um, After that, I was like, "Oh damn, I am never driving to paint the rest of the game." So I just stayed outside and sat around the 3-point line. um, but again, that was a really cool experience. Didn't make it. Didn't even didn't even get probably looked at. I mean, I made it to. Like I said, I was probably there was 125 people, and
Wow.
I was probably in the 50,
Yeah, and they only take what, 12, 13,
the 14, I think.
14. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that was a cool experience. And then um, I went to try out a couple years ago for a professional team out of Manchester, Virginia. They've now since then they've recently moved to another city, but they were called the Virginia Valley Vipers. They play in the TBL league. Um, Me and two of my buddies that I play basketball with and all these other leagues that I play in, um, were like, "Hey, we're gonna go try out. You should come try out too." And they kind of motivated me into it. I went and worked out with them every week. We were in the gym, getting shots up. We were in running. They were making me run suicides. I was about dead. I'm not gonna lie. I could tell I was definitely out of shape, but they were getting me built up to be ready for it because they knew that it was gonna be a big thing. So went to the first tryout, went in there. It was a really cool situation. It was really a big difference from uh first semi-pro team that I tried out for. They didn't do all the stuff that they did at this professional thing. They literally would weigh you, they weighed you, they measured you, they put you over against the wall and had you spread your arms out, and then they measured your wingspan, and they had you do a vertical jump, and they had you do a two-step vertical jump to get all your measurements. And then they put you through like these different shuttle runs. Like I know you've seen like during the NFL Combine, they do like the 40-yard dash.
Mm-hmm.
They had us set up a dash. They made us literally do a dash from baseline to half court, and they had the system up like it was like the laser system. You listen for a beep and you took off. As soon as you hit the laser, it started recording your time, and they kept track of how fast you got from one point to the other. So it was a really cool experience. I actually made it to another tryout, and um, I didn't make the team, but that was also a really cool experience because a lot of the people who was part of the team, like some of the staff, the managers, the coach, um, the coach talked to me quite a bit. Um, I went to some of the games because both of my buddies made the team. They both made the team, so I went to some of the games to watch them, to support them and stuff. And there was so many people there that was part of the staff and stuff that came over and they would talk to me and like you know I had one of them come up and she gave me a hug and she's like, "I was really pulling for you. I was really hoping that you would have made it." And like that was just a cool atmosphere to be a part of. Like like having that group of people come up to you and be like, "Hey, you did really good. You didn't make the team, but hey, you're still part of this family because you came here to be a part of something big. It was something new. It was something big. It was something cool." Um, so, um, don't think I'm gonna go out and try out for any more professional teams here in the near future. I think I'm past that point now. Um, but like you said, I'm still out here playing recreational leagues. Um, playing 3 days a week. Um, play 2 nights up in uh one place, and then I play one day at another place. So constantly playing still, playing about 4 or 5 days a week because I also go and just play for fun still. Um, but yeah, basketball has always been a thing in uh my life. It's something that I take very serious as far as like, you eat, sleep, you work, you go play basketball, and you race NR.
What a combination.
Maybe not the greatest combination, but oops, I left out one. Go visit the girlfriend, because if you don't do that, I'll definitely be in big trouble.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's a big part of my life outside of the NR stuff. Um, so it's just cool to still be going at it, still being able to do it. Um, like I said, I have a lot of I like with how the NR community is. Like I've met so many people outside of this. Um, the guy who coached the Vipers last, uh, well, not last year. Yeah, it was last year. Last year, the guy who coached the Vipers was actually an assistant coach for the Denver Nuggets.
Okay.
Um, he played in the NBA. He was he was the Pac-10 Player of the Year in like 1988 or something like that. He was drafted by the Golden State Warriors when he went to the NBA. His first coaching job was an assistant coach with Rick Pitino for the Boston Celtics.
Wow.
So
Okay. Damn.
the dude had a lot. Yeah, he had a lot of knowledge, and just to be able to go out there and try out for his team, be a part of that was really cool. Like I said, I've talked to him. I reached out, talked to him on Instagram, you know, uh, and whatnot. But being able to go out there into all these places, I've met a lot of really cool people. I've became friends with a lot of cool people. Um, some of them have played professional. Uh, some of them are currently playing college basketball. I've played against. There's a guy who currently playing for Vanderbilt right now. There's a guy that I played against in a league that's playing for. I think he was with Mount St. Mary's this past season. I think he's. I don't want to say it because I don't know if it's true yet or not. I heard that he might be going to Arizona this year. I played against a guy who was with Arizona when they made it to the Final Four a couple years ago. He got drafted in the G League to the San Antonio Spurs G League team. He's now overseas playing. He just won an MVP overseas.
Oh
They
damn.
won the championship and he won the MVP. So it's really cool to be in a group like in this area that I live in to have those type of people who have been everywhere. I've recently gotten to be really good friends with a guy who played overseas in Australia for a couple years. Um, he was an MVP over there. Um, in one of the years that he played, they won a championship over there. He's back here now in this area, and dude's still a lights out player. Like I got to be teammates with him. He's going to be my teammate coming up here soon in another league that we're going to be playing in. So, um, yeah, like just being able to be in basketball, um, the type of people I've met, the type of relationships I've had, um, it's a really cool thing to have done. Um, but yeah, I mean, other than me playing basketball, I'm sure you also know, and a lot of people that we race with know that I'm a big Duke Blue Devil fan. Um,
Oh yeah, the choke artists.
Here we go. Yeah, you know, uh,
I swear,
no matter what.
every year I decide to maybe follow college basketball, or even when I don't, any year that I pick Duke in my bracket, they always lost earlier than they should have. Always. Except maybe one year. I remember this is actually a little funny. I used to do a college basketball bracket through my dad's work when I was a kid. They would let me do one for fun. Like, I didn't know crap about college basketball, but I did a bracket just for fun. And there was one year where I won the money, and it was the first year where the final four was all the one seeds. I had all the one seeds in my final four, and I didn't get one of the teams right in the final, but I still got enough points to win because I had all the one seeds going to the final four.
That's great.
And I was probably 9 or 10, and I was just like, why not? All the one seeds in the final four.
Yeah. Like I said, I follow Duke no matter what, win or lose. I'm there for. I root for them. I was a huge Coach K fan. Um, but also you gotta remember, I grew up in the '90s. I was young. I was in the '90s. '91, '92. Duke was the team to beat. They had Leitner, Early, that group of guys. They won back-to-back national championships. Um, Coach K was the man, and I just fell in love with that team. And from this day, there's been some players that came out of Virginia that play for them. One of them's currently coaching the Los Angeles Lakers. I am a huge JJ Redick fan. JJ Redick played for Cave Springs, that's in Virginia, um, in high school. Um, so I used to wear number 4 just because it was JJ Redick's number. Um, and I wear 11 because I'm a Kyrie fan too. So Kyrie wears 11. I wear 11. I've recently started wearing 24 again. Uh, Not that I don't like Kobe, but I don't wear 24 before Kobe. I wear 24 because it was Johnny Dawkins' number at Duke, which is retired. Um, I was a huge Johnny Dawkins fan back in the day when he played for Duke. So his number's hanging up in the rafters there as well. So I kind of wear that number because of that. I've fluctuated between 4, 11, and 24. Those have been my 3 basketball numbers that I've wore most of the time. So yeah, a little history in basketball with me. Um,
Right on. Yeah, I mean, happy to hear it. It's nice to have a another outlet we can talk about that's not just motorsports. So I appreciate having that. Um, Real quick, any interest in anything music, movies, or TV shows? You don't have to go into anything long-winded, but just like any like main interest in music, movies, TV shows, etc.
so it's gonna be kind of, I don't know why, but recently, um, for music wise, I've gotten into a lot of. I don't know how much you listen to, like if you listen to any of the country
Nope,
songs or
nope,
whatnot.
no
I know
country.
I know you're probably, yeah, but I don't know if you've seen it or not lately. But there's been a lot of like hip hop stars like doing duets now with like country stars.
I think I've heard a little bit. Yeah, I've heard
And
about it a
some of
little
them's like
bit.
really
Yeah.
cool. Um, there was one song that I really, really started to like. It's Carrie Underwood and Papa Roach.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that had come out.
There's a song that's called "Leave the Light On." That song, like when I heard it, I was like, "Holy smokes, this is a really cool song." But now you're getting like Jelly Roll and like Kane Brown and all these different other music artists like coming into the countryside and teaming up with other like country singers, and they're like doing these duets, and some of them are really cool. Like Jelly Roll did one. It's called "Haunted." That's a really cool song. I don't know why, but I like listening to that song too. Um, I know you're not big into the country stuff, but like the Papa Roach one, you should check that. You should check that one out. You should check out the other one too. Um,
So there's actually real quick while we're on the topic of Jelly Roll, I know who Jelly Roll is because one of my favorite metal bands had him on a song. So Fallen in Reverse had Jelly Roll on a song. It's called All My Life. It's not a duet, but it's like a basically like a country rock,
yeah,
like
yeah,
heavy country rock song. It's really good, and the lyrics, actually kind of resonate with me a lot, personally. But it's a very good song, and that's how I got introduced to Jelly Roll. And then of course, Jelly Roll did a song with Eminem last year as well. So
hmm
those are the two songs I know for Jelly Roll.
yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like this new country that's out now with the way that they're doing it with like some of these hip hop stars coming in and doing them. It's not your normal country, so it's kind of like a mixture. And I think that like this new era of country music that they're doing is really really cool with how they're doing it with all these other hip hop stars like coming in and working together with the country stars. Um, so I've really gotten into that kind of music, like like the duets with them doing that kind of style. Um, but let's see. You said about music. Uh, I'm big into Marvel. I love the Marvel stuff. Um,
Right on, right
big
on.
into the Iron Man. I was big in Iron Man. Um, even though I was a big fan of Iron Man, I'm not sure how I'm going to like the whole Robert Downey Jr. is now Doctor Doom. I
Yeah.
don't know what kind of art
To
they're going with
be
yet.
to be honest too, I was a big Marvel dude, but ever since Endgame, I've like struggled to get into the some of the stuff. Like I watched the Hawkeye series. I watched uh the Miss Marvel series, which wasn't, I don't think, really made for like my what I would be considered for like a fan base. Like I don't think that was really made for me. I still watched it. It was enjoyable. And then the last thing I saw was Moon Knight. So as far as chronological stuff goes, my next thing to watch would be She-Hulk. And I've kind of like just I've fallen out of Marvel. The only Marvel thing I've watched out of the order of stuff that I should be watching it was the last Spider-Man movie. That's the only thing I've watched.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, and
um,
Doctor Strange too. I watched that.
so you mentioned Moon Knight. I like the Moon Knight series. I don't know why, but I wish that they didn't have a big pause in between. Um, I thought that that series was really cool. Like I said, I'm kind of looking forward to how the whole Doctor Doom thing is going to be. Um, I personally feel like that this Doom is going to be a Tony Stark variation since they brought in the whole multiverse kind of stuff lately. That he's basically going to be Tony Stark that's like adopted by the Von Doom family, or
Yeah, I've
and
heard a lot of different
or he's going to
theories.
take
Yeah.
yeah. And because if you look at how they're doing like Doomsday and then the second part of it, so Doomsday is if you look at the coloring, it's green. Doctor Doom was, got the metal suit with the green. But the second part of it is the Iron Man colors. So does he convert to because there is a story arc where he becomes Iron Man. Von Doom becomes Iron Man.
Yeah,
He takes Tony
that's what
Stark's
I
man.
yeah, that was the theory I heard about. Was there was in the comics where like Von Doom became Iron Man, and or there was another one where like they like swapped bodies, like their souls swapped bodies or something like that. I think was
Yeah,
another one I read that happened in the comics. So I can see what they're going for because they've opened the floodgates with the whole multiverse stuff.
yeah, yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see. They're, you know, they're bringing the mutants in finally into it and everything. So Um, they got a lot more angles to go. I don't know how they're going to fit everything into it, but it's definitely going to be an in-game type film. So it'll be kind of cool to see. Um,
Yeah, I'll have to
but
start binging stuff again. I did watch Deadpool versus Wolverine. That was the last. I totally forgot I watched that too. But yeah, I gotta watch all the TV shows because like if you don't watch the TV shows, you're just kind of lost on who's who and how they know each other.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And then they announced that there is going to be a new Spider-Man coming out. That would be pretty cool. Um, I just recently watched the Craven. I didn't
Okay,
watch Craven until like 2 weeks ago. Some people didn't think it was very good. I thought it was very interesting. Um, I like how they left the cliffhanger at the end because you almost have to watch that. I feel like you're gonna have to watch that before you watch the new Spider-Man. Once the
right?
new Spider-Man comes out,
Because
because they're
there's
saying that the main villain is the Chameleon.
okay, yeah, because
And,
there's Marvel and then there's also like a Sony subfaction of Marvel, which is
but
like
yeah, Sony is
Spider
no
Man,
longer.
Venom,
Yeah,
Craven, and then there's one other one I think that's mixed in there. Oh, was it the Madam
Morbius.
Morbius? Yeah, and then there was some other Madam Web
Yeah,
or
Madam
some
Web.
other thing. Yeah, all those movies are poorly reviewed except the Spider-Man ones.
Yeah. Like I said, Morbius. Uh, Not a big fan of it. Craven. I liked it to an extent. I wasn't a big fan of the Rhino. I mean,
Yeah, I heard. I remember. I didn't. I think I saw a picture of it, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
well, it's not even that. Like, I don't really want to try to spoil it, but I guess I'm going to. But
Well, spoiler warning.
he only yeah, he only changed into the Rhino one time, and he gets killed.
Oh,
Yeah, and he gets killed by wildebeest. He gets ran over.
brother.
But nah, the ending of it has the chameleon in it. I'm not going to ruin that, but you have to watch it to see the chameleon because he's going to be the main antagonist for the new Spider-Man. So, um, cliffhanger there. Find out who chameleon is. You'll be surprised.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll
Um,
have to start. I'll have to start binging again. I'll have to renew my Disney Plus and whatnot. Well, do they even have that stuff on the Disney Plus?
Netflix.
Netflix. Okay. Or
Yeah,
I'll rent it on
I watched
Amazon
Craven
maybe.
on Netflix. But yeah, no. So I'm big into the Marvel stuff. Like I said, I'm not too. I'm definitely kind of interested to see how they're going to go with the Fantastic Four. I feel like there's been so many Fantastic Fours that fell flat on their face that I'm not really overly hyped for what this one's going to be. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, this is what the third time they're rebooting it. Or well, second time
Yeah,
they're rebooting it, but third time they're attempting it. Yeah, well, so
and
will be interesting to see how that develops. Yeah, I'll have to start getting back into the shows and just start watching stuff 2 days over a weekend or whatever. I have to watch how much I binge because sometimes when I binge, if I don't just start something new right away, I get like this like post binge depression where I'm just like, damn it, the series is over. What do I do now? So I have to like make
mm,
sure I just start something because someone told me like, oh, I just start the next thing, and then you don't even feel sad about it. It's like, yeah, I guess so.
yeah. So what was the? I think there was another part of that. It was
Well,
music,
TV
movie.
shows, but that can kind of factor into if you're watching the shows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really big into like TV shows, like series and stuff. I still every now and then I'll cut it on and watch Family Guy and crack up laughing every now and then.
Mhm.
Um, and Practical Jokers, I used to watch that all the time. It was great. It kind of feels like it's not the same with Joe not being a part of it anymore. Like the new part of or the new series. Like when Joe was on there before when it was all four of them instead of just three of them. I thought that was a lot better. But I mean, yeah, for the most part, like other series and stuff, I kind of just don't get into it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Who's That Driver? Randall, thank you for your time. I feel like this was a great episode. We didn't really step over each other too much. I'll have to cut out a lot of the little moments of silence, but that's always going to happen with any episode. No big deal. Shave maybe a few minutes off the total runtime here, but another good long episode. So thank you again for being on, and this is the part of the show where you're welcome to pretty much shout out whoever you want.
Yeah, it was fun to be part of this, to be out here talking just in general about NR related stuff, how I came in here and whatnot, and uh, Danny Hardee part. Obviously, that was a big thing. Um, you know, anybody who's listening that wants to come out and race, we got our fast racing league. Still somewhat early in the season, might not be eligible for playoffs, but we want to come and have some fun and race on some of these tracks and whatnot. Come check us out. I'm sure that if somebody comments, Zach will be able to hook you all up with a link to the Discord or whatnot. But yeah, I know there was some stuff that we didn't really get to cover. I'm actually surprised you didn't ask me about like the Area 23 stuff or anything like that. So maybe down the road somewhere we can talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, you're right. We just got so absorbed in a lot of the racing stuff. Didn't really get time to really talk about the track stuff, but definitely down the line, if this continues on, you could say season 2, sometime next year. And, there'll be more tracks out by then. More tracks for me to make release videos for. And yeah, we'll talk about that sometime down the line.
For sure.
But yeah, thank you, Randall. And, like I said, I don't know if you really shouted anyone out right there. So.
Oh, really? I don't guess I did.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that'll wrap it up for this episode of Who's That Driver. Thank y'all for listening, and I will see y'all for the next one. Already got a guest planned, so just pending his availability. That should be another fun, spicy one, because it's going to be another not afraid to be outspoken personality, if he is indeed available. If not, everything I'm saying right now is meaningless towards episode 7. And I'll have to try to remember to clarify that if we cannot get a date set up, but should be able to. So till then, thank y'all for your support. And on we go. This was episode 6 of Who's That Driver?